It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Brouhaha time. Marshall Wood, Dale McKee breaking it down again. Good evening to you, Dale. How's my partner in crime doing?
Hey, we're doing good. How you doing?
Oh man, doing good. Just enjoying this time of year and the weather and all that kind of stuff. And baseball going on. Man, baseball seems to be the word of the day. Looks like in looking at your sideline view.
Yeah, we do. We do have a lot of baseball going on right now. I failed to mention that the high school all-star game for girls softball is over at Jones this week. So Mississippi Association of Coaches will be over there, and then in Hattiesburg, of course, we have the Crossword Diamonds Club. That's where you have the three different all-star teams competing against each other from the north and the south. So that ought to be an interesting week. It's supposed to start tonight.
Yeah.
But we'll have to the weather may have something to do with that. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Now, those are all-star games?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, those are all-star games going on now?
Yeah. They're all all-star games. So.
Okay.
Anyway, big news in college baseball is the state of Mississippi has less than around the 2% chance of winning the College World Series this year.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
4 teams.
I don't know if you recognize that line from the movie Dumb and Dumber, but I don't know what's who's who. But anyway.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is that I was having a little echo effect coming back on my phone, so I apologize for that. No, I was saying we have 3 teams going to the NCAA baseball playoffs, and 2 of them are going to host. And so, Southern Miss, the one closest to us, excuse me, they're going to welcome the University of Miami Hurricanes.
Wow.
And the Alabama Crimson Tide and Columbia, I believe, out of New York, are all coming to Hattiesburg for the regionals. And so that will start Friday night, and it's going to be a very, very hard ticket to get, Marshall. And so,
let me ask you a question.
It's an interesting series, but go ahead.
Okay, so all right, we got this regional going on, and so the winner of the regional will move on to the super regional, right?
Right. We have 16 regionals all across the country, and so they'll narrow it down to they go from a tournament of 64 to 16. And so the next weekend, they'll have what they call super regionals, where the 16th seeded, the winner of the 16th, seed tournament will play the number 1 seed. Well, unfortunately for USM, they're the 16th seed, and they'll have to go to Nashville to play Vanderbilt, who just won the SEC tournament.
That's if
Ole Miss wins. They'll go to Athens Regional based on the fact that Georgia wins. Now, Vanderbilt has to win their regional to be able to host. And if they don't, then those teams that are up there will have to come to the winner of the 16th. I know that's very confusing, but it's kind of like a basketball bracket of 16 teams, you know.
Yeah, okay.
You have so anyway, and so Ole Miss is going to welcome a couple Kentucky teams in Murray State, who they lost to back in March, and a really good Western Kentucky team that's won 46 games. And they're also going to host the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck, who won the ACC regular season championship. So that should be a very interesting. It's going to be tough both on Southern Miss and Ole Miss. There's some good teams in there. Mississippi State might have got the best draw of the bunch. They're going to Tallahassee. Yeah. And if they're going to have down there Florida State, and Northeastern. It's a school from somewhere up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know exactly where, but they won 27 straight games.
Man.
And so they won like 50 games this year. And they will also have the SWAC champion, which is Bethune-Cookman. So State will take on Northeastern Louisiana, New Northeastern. I keep wanting to say Northeastern Louisiana, but it's not. They'll take on Northeastern. Southern is going to take over Columbia the first game that they play, and then they'll play the winner of the Alabama-Miami game, and Ole Miss will play like Murray State, and then they'll take on the winner of Georgia Tech and Kentucky there, Western Kentucky. So it ought to be an interesting weekend. It's very confusing now, but by next weekend we'll be in the Super Regionals, and they'll be a lot better off there. So anyway,
Let me ask you.
Getting to last week's. Are you going to ask me something?
Yeah, I was going to ask you in this regional that we're in now. I mean, so how many games is it a double elimination type thing, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's just double elimination. It's like a 4-team playoff, and when you lose 2, you're gone.
Oh.
So that's kind of the way it is. And so this thing could drag out till Monday night. Well, the last time Southern hosted, I believe it was a super regional down there a couple of years ago. The only thing I remember about it, I was in Myrtle Beach, and I was watching a game that started about 10 o'clock East Coast time because it rained all night in Hattiesburg. And they played Tennessee, and, of course, Tennessee knocked them off. And but that was, both teams had one loss.
Yeah.
And so they had to play on Monday. So, and I remember one year, I believe they hosted quite a few down there. I remember LSU came one year, and Ole Miss was in a regional down there. Of course, that was the year Ole Miss won the national championship in 2022. They didn't go to a third game. That was a super regional game. So it's an honor, first of all, to host a regional, okay? That means you're one of the top 16 teams in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, let that sink in a minute. We got 2 teams in Mississippi in the top 16. We've got 2 junior college teams playing out in Oklahoma right now.
Yeah.
That are in the top 6 in the junior college.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just it's slowly, it's never going to be take football, as the kingpin, but it's definitely moved into the number 2 slot. It's moved basketball to number 3 in our state.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's going to be an interesting. But I was going to recap last weekend. State went to the SEC tournament, and they lost the first game to Texas A&M, which was a little upset. And of course, Texas A&M ended up doing well. They won a couple more games in the tournament before they finally lost. Ole Miss did something that not a lot of teams get to do. They got to knock off the number 15 Florida team, number 5 Arkansas, and at that time the number 1 team in the country. And they shut LSU out on Saturday to move on to a Sunday championship game against Vanderbilt, which they lost 3-2. So it was a tough weekend, and Southern Miss went over to Montgomery. They won 3 games before they fell to Coastal Carolina in the championship game. Now, what was so unusual about that Sun Belt Conference deal is Southern went in with an 18-game winning streak, and Coastal Carolina had a 17-game winning streak in that game. Both of them going into that game. Wow. So that was 37 wins. Southern lost since April the 18th. And it's May the 25th or 26th, 27th now?
Yes.
So they hadn't lost in a good month. So, but their 18-game winning streak was a school record, came to an end that day against Coastal. And Coastal now has 18 wins, and they're going to host a regional too. So the Sun Belts can play some pretty good baseball too.
Wow.
So in the end, Sun Belt only had 2 teams, Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss. A lot of people thought Troy would make it, but they were, I believe, one of what they call them, the last 4 out. And the SEC has 13 teams that made the tournament. Yeah. So it should be good. And I want to talk for just a minute about softball. Ole Miss softball went to Arkansas, and the softball players are playing about a week ahead of the baseball guys. The baseball guys are in their regionals now.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the softball girls were in their super regionals last weekend. And so they had won the Arizona regional, and then they had to go to Arkansas to play a best 2 out of 3. And Arkansas was like the number 6 team in the country. And Ole Miss upset them. And it was the first time in Ole Miss program history that they get to go to the World Series. Now, a little trivia fact on that is the last team from Mississippi to go and they were the only team. There's only been 2 teams from Mississippi ever, or 2 schools, Southern Miss and Ole Miss now. Southern Miss went back in 1999 and 2000 when they had a pitcher named Courtney Blades. I don't know if you remember her.
I remember that name.
But she's an All-American pitcher. She's a National Player of the Year.
Man.
In the college softball. And I think her daughter just finished playing at North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken.
And the beat goes on, baby.
Yeah, the beat goes on.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah. But that's it. Last week we had the baseball state playoffs in Jackson. And we had Taylorsville lost to West Union in 1A. Clarkdale lost to East Union in 2A. Seminary won 3A. West Lauderdale beat Purvis in 4A. Well, Lafayette County beat South Jones in 5A. I don't know. I always call it Satellite, but it's not. It's
Saltillo?
Salt. Anyway, some kind of salt team up there from North Mississippi beat the George County Rebels in 6A. Gotcha. And Madison Central beat Brandon in 7A. So that is my baseball report for today.
Let me ask you this. How many championships has West Lauderdale won altogether now?
I think the Meridian TV station, TOK, said it was their 14th, maybe. I'm not sure.
That's the number I heard.
I can check it in a minute, but they won quite a bit.
Is that the winningest high school baseball team?
I really can't remember the last time that they didn't have a good team, honestly. I mean, they've been super for 100 years, you know.
Let me ask you this. Summerall's been pretty good. They were ranked number 1 in the nation several years ago, were they not? And if that being the case, would they be the only team in Mississippi that's ever been ranked number 1 in the nation?
I don't know. I know we've had some really good teams. And so I can't really say that about Summerall. I just know that Purvis has had their number the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And but they're really good.
Okay.
They've got a great baseball program, but the West Florida Knights won their 16th state championship.
Wow, that's phenomenal. That's about as good as it gets. That's more state championships than West Point's got in football. So that tells you that's a bunch of them right there. Hey, Dale, I'll tell you what let's do. We're rocking right along here. I know tonight we haven't informed our listeners that tonight it's you and I, and so we are our own guest tonight. So that having been said, let's take us a commercial break to hear from a sponsor, and then Dale and I will be back as tonight's guest right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, with tonight's guest. Yep, that's right. You guessed it, Dale and I. Hey, Dale, you ready for our guest segment? You gonna act like one?
Oh man, I can't wait for this. We actually get to talk this week.
I did want to mention. I know you mentioned this in your sideline view. I do want to do another little deal on East Central Community College. They're in the National Junior College Association National Championship, or World Series for the third year in a row. This is their third trip out there. And one of our local folks, we've had several up there, but Cameron Scooter Carlisle is pitching for him. He had a real good outing up there. I think you might have mentioned that in the beginning. I wasn't sure. I think he went through 5 innings and they were able to win their first 2 games. So they're sitting pretty right now and waiting to see what happens. They play Pearl River, I believe, tonight. That's coming up. I don't know when it is, but their next game, I believe, is with Pearl River, who I think they split with during the regular season. But anyway, should be interesting. We got 2 out there from Mississippi in the World Series for the Junior College D2. That's pretty good record for the state, huh?
Yeah.
All righty.
We got some of the best junior college around, and that's in baseball and softball. I failed to mention the first segment that the Colin Lady Wolves down the Jones College Lady Bobcats in the World Series championship game.
Wow!
And
Mississippi on Mississippi
played each other three times over there, and Colin ended up winning 2 of them. And they had to go to a third game, and when they played the third game, Colin came out on top, and that's their second title in 3 years, national championship, and Jones won 1. But the thing about Jones is they finished seven times. They finished runner-up over there in the last decade.
Wow, man. What's that? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride? Is that the way that old saying goes?
Yeah. Always the bridesmaid. Always.
Oh.
They're good.
Hey,
the way it goes anyway.
Did you know that Mary Lou Redden got arrested for being drunk and driving?
She's still Mary Lou to us all now. We grew up with Mary Lou.
I'm telling you.
Everybody makes mistakes.
I've never been so disappointed in all my life.
If I didn't know her, I'd be on her right now. But it's Mary Lou now. We got to leave Mary Lou alone.
57 years old, man. Seems like just yesterday she was transforming the world. And now
I actually saw her in person from instance one time up in Tuscaloosa. Her daughter was on the LSU gymnastics team, and they were over there facing Alabama.
Yeah.
And we sat about 10 rows behind her. But they were all in there. But everybody was saying, "There's Mary Lou." Mary Lou. So I kept looking there. Mary Lou. There was Mary Lou. Mary Lou was small. She's a small girl.
Well, most of them are.
Small girl.
Most of them are.
Yeah.
Mary Lou Retton's certainly a big deal, and it's a big deal when the First Lady of Gymnastics gets a DUI. Blah blah blah. She'll be okay. I'm sure she'll get herself straightened out. There was another young lady several years after Mary Lou. And I think her last name was Suggs. And I'll never forget that she was on the vault and she had hurt her ankle. And you probably remember this. She could hardly walk. But she had to finish because the team medal, I think, she had to place in the vault for the team to get a medal. She could have won a medal, but a team medal too. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But she ran down that thing on what was a very painful ankle, and she did that vault, which is tripping around up in the air and landing on those feet. Do you remember that?
Not right off, Marshall.
I'm telling you, that's one of the greatest things in sports I have ever seen, because her coach was that guy from Romania that was the same one that coached Mary Lou Retton, I think, and that girl could hardly walk now, and she willed her way down that, I don't know what you call it, the launch pad or whatever, and she hit that horse, man, running wide open and stuck the landing with what might have been a broken ankle. That's one of the biggest things I've ever seen in sports by some little girl that probably weighed 95 pounds and was 5'3". But I'm telling you, she was a powerhouse. It's amazing what these athletes have to go through.
Yeah, there was another story, too. There was a British sprinter by the name of Derek Redmond. And he was over in Barcelona in '92, and I know they showed this before, and it almost brings tears to your eyes. He tore his hamstring and running the 400 meters.
Yeah.
His father, Jim, jumped out of the stands, ran through security, helped his son cross the finish line because his son wasn't going to win the race anyway.
I saw that.
And I don't know. I think there's about 100 or so meters left in the 400 meter, but the boy couldn't barely walk. But his dad jumped out and said, "We're gonna finish this together, son."
Yes, sir, buddy. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, but I'll always remember that Jim Redmond's son because his son's name was Derek, which is or Derek Redmond.
Yeah.
His dad was named him. Anyway, I remember that because my oldest son's first name was Derek.
Yeah.
So I always thought about that every time I think about that race. But that was similar to your story, and they're both just, oh my God, that brings tears to both your eyes.
Man.
They competed, you know.
Yeah. The heart
I think,
of a warrior.
I think sometimes in sports we may baby our athletes a little bit these days.
Yeah.
To a little bit. I'm not saying a whole lot because we did a lot of that in the day. But I mean, they told us water wasn't good for us.
You used to take salt tablets all the time.
Yeah, the Lord's provided you water. You need to drink it.
Amen. Yes, sir.
Anyway, but you know, some of these injuries. I mean, you know, like I remember back in the late '70s, the Rams were playing the Steelers in the Super Bowl out in Pasadena, and I want to say the Steelers were going for their fourth championship of that era, which would have been their last. But the Rams had a defensive end from Florida Gators named Jack Youngblood, and I remember seeing Jack Youngblood play in college. They played Mississippi State in Jackson. He was a kicker. And I believe his first name was Jack. It might have been Jim. He was one of them, but he played defensive end for the Rams.
Yeah.
And he played that whole Super Bowl with a broke leg.
Man. Hey.
Now I don't know how many of the pro players now would do that. Of course, they're making a lot more money. But his name, I just looked it up. His name was Jack Youngblood.
Yeah.
Anyway, but he was a Florida Gator, and he was a kicker for Florida. That's kind of what I remembered about him more than anything else. I saw him play up against Mississippi State and Jackson.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you this: Tim Tebow did that in high school, didn't he, with a broken leg? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know that. I guess he might have.
He did.
I know the most famous Mississippi story is Archie Manning trying to quarterback against LSU in 1970 with a broken arm.
Yeah.
And then going to the Gator Bowl 3 or 4 weeks. All the way back. Now, Archie tried to do his only about like 3 weeks after he broke it.
Yeah.
And what's odd about Archie is I think he broke his left arm this time. In high school, he broke his right arm when he was a junior.
I haven't liked the University of Houston since he broke his arm. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
You did.
I'm losing your.
I said.
You from one end over here.
I said.
You hear me?
I said.
Okay.
I haven't liked the University of Houston since they broke his arm.
Well.
The Cougars.
I talked to a guy, and several people from Waynesboro probably know this fellow I'm talking about. His name's Wick Neely. He's from McGee.
Yeah.
And he was a defensive back on that day that Archie broke his arm. And he told me that Coach Vaught said, guys, we're going to play these Houston receivers man to man. No, they're going to flop it up, I think, and play like a zone for the first time. Nobody had ever hardly played a zone in college. Everybody was running man to man. You know, you cover that guy, you cover that guy. Well, I hate to say it, but Ole Miss players didn't have the speed the Houston receivers did. They were good tacklers, but they were just not fast kids, you know, for that age, for that time. And Houston would run fast, and they had a receiver named Elmo Wright that went on and played in the NFL for several years.
Yeah.
And so he said, Coach Ball came in, and he said he invented the zone defense that day. Because he said nobody was running in college. You take this area, and you take that area, and you take that area, and if they cross, well, you'll pick them up. And that's the way they did it. And so that's odd how you hear different things, through just normal conversation.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to. We're getting along in time. I'm gonna hit you with a question, and you're not expecting this, so let's see how you do. Let me see if I can come up with the question, but here it comes. There's a shot at the question. Can you name an individual who's had the most impact on the sport that they play in history?
Oh, we're talking about anybody within that sport where it was.
We're talking about any sport. We're talking about any sport, any period, any player. The person that's had the most impact on the sport that they play. Who would it be? One person. I'm gonna tell you one. I think I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm gonna say Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Listen to this. The regular season viewership tripled last year with games averaging 1.32 million viewers. Attendance at WNBA games increased 48% compared to the previous season. The Indiana Fever Caitlin Clark's team had the most nationally televised games. It goes on. Some estimates suggest that her presence can contribute $1 billion in revenue to the WNBA. Her impact extends to individual teams, with the Fever's value increasing from $90 million to a potentially $340 million, and it goes on and on. Merchandise sales have gone up 601%. Massive increase in social media views, nearly 2 billion since she showed up. I mean, has there ever been anybody like that to affect a game like that?
Well, no. Now that you mention it, she's probably had the greatest impact on the game. She had a great impact on college basketball when she was playing it. But I would think just going back to somebody before that, you'd have to. There was a combination of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, they say the NBA. I mean, the NBA, their playoffs were on tape delay.
Yeah.
They played them back at 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
And so, they changed that for sure. And so, Caitlin's got it. I've got an actual friend that was had 2 tickets, was going to go see her play 2 games in Indianapolis. Maybe here, I don't know if he's going this weekend or not, but I saw the other day that she's going to be out a week or 2. I'm thinking, okay, you're going to go up there and you're not going to be able to see her play.
That's right.
I mean, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I just heard that she was going to be out for maybe a week or so or something.
What I read was at least 2 weeks, so we'll see.
2 weeks.
Dale, I tell you what, I think, we've, it's just you and I, brother, but we've sailed through this thing and we're about out of time. We got spots, so. Yeah, we're about out of time. Time flies when you're having fun, man. We always have fun on the Brouhaha, don't we? Hello?
Hello. I'm still there.
But anyway, listen, Dale and I, we thank you for joining us tonight and listening in, and we want to remind you that you can follow us on our Facebook at the Brouhaha, and we have all the shows cataloged for you where you can listen to them on demand on our YouTube channel, which is the Brouhaha. But it's come to the time of the evening where it is time to say a goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, folks. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.